Throughout the year, we'll have passing of people that are celebrities or prominent figures, and some are going to hit harder for you than others, which brings us to the passing from today, which is Val Kilmer. And this one's hit pretty hard for me as an 80s, 90s kid. He was just a big part of our lives in many large roles, and he's had a rough few years, honestly 10 to 15, when he got throat cancer and things have just been a bit downhill and we haven't seen much of him. And now that he's passed at only 65 years old, this just really hits hard because the man was an extreme star and he was part of many phenomenal movies that you've heard of, and there's many that you probably don't know anything about. I've collected a list of ones that you might have missed or heard of and never given a chance, and I'm here to tell you why you should check them out. So let's go ahead and dig into it. But like I said, this guy has been the star of so many things over the years, and there are the big ones that are gonna jump out at you right away, like Top Gun, like Tombstone. So none of those are ones that I'm gonna talk about. But he has just done so much, and it's hard to decide what to touch on. But I'm just gonna kick things off with The Doors. Now, you might have heard about this one, but there's a good chance you haven't seen it because I feel like a lot of people haven't, especially in more recent years. And all of the ones that I'm going to be talking about are from the 90s and after, actually, because a lot of his excellent work came in that time period and a lot of people just didn't see it. This is an Oliver Stone movie. It's a documentary history drama. I typically don't like biopics like this, but this is the gold standard. I'm a huge Doors fan, and it's quite literally because of this movie and his performance. It is to the point where, for me personally, when I think about Jim Morrison, I think about Val Kilmer, which is a wild thing to say, and it just speaks so much about what an excellent job he did for this film and how excellently he captured Jim Morrison in general. This movie is phenomenal. I highly recommend it, even if this isn't your vibe. Just the music in it is great, the storytelling. This is a solid film and a great way to kick things off if you're going down this Val Kilmer journey. Now, next up is one of my all-time favorite films, one of the best movies ever. I freaking love it, and no one's seen it, and it can be hard to find. It's The Salton Sea. This movie is fantastic, let me tell you, and it is difficult to talk about. This is about a man whose wife was murdered, and it's about his redemption. And what they point out here, even in the overview, is that nothing is as it seems. Val Kilmer plays a character, Tom Van Allen, and he's got tattoos all over him. He's very edgy. He's got a vibe to him, but he also plays a trumpet, which is really wild. There's literally only 3 pictures in here. We have one review from Crisco, which is on Criticless cast, and he gave it an 85%. This is one of those I'd probably give it 100 just out of my love for it. This is one that you probably haven't seen, but I would recommend that you take a chance on this one and just go ahead and rent it, throw caution to the wind, and watch it. It is so good. Don't watch a trailer, don't get any spoilers, and just check out The Salton Sea. His performance is fantastic. Now, next up, I was going to talk about Wonderland. This is a really interesting one. This is another one that I own and a really good film. It's on Stars and Philo, some other places, at least currently, where you can check it out. But this is actually, he plays the role of John Holmes. And this whole movie surrounds a murder and Wonderland Avenue. And it is it's a crime film, but it's a true crime film. And it takes place in the 80s and surrounds like the LA police responding to a distress call and about a quadruple homicide. This movie is really wild. The performance by Val, once again, like I said, is just excellent. He is a vibe in this movie. It's great. There are some really good performances. And right here, actually, Dylan McDermott, he's almost unrecognizable in this movie. It's great. I definitely recommend checking it out. This is another one that's like, I don't know if it's the best. It's probably, I would consider it maybe one of the lesser of the ones of this bunch, but it's still worth seeing. And I feel like a lot of people didn't. Now, right back again to one of my favorite films of all time. This is one I also would probably give 100 just because it's so great. This is a Shane Black film. If you know anything about Shane Black, his movies have a vibe, and this is a peak Shane Black as far as his movies go. And this is actually the movie that put Robert Downey Jr. back on the map and also called a lot of attention back to Val Kilmer. He was a little older at this point, but he looks fantastic in this movie. He plays a guy named Gay Perry, and he's a guy named Perry who's gay, and he is a detective, and he's actually working with Robert Downey Jr.'s character Harry, who is a thief who gets actually cast in a role acting. And so he is actually basically courting his character to teach him how detectives work and perform their day-to-day duties, and so that he can act in a film. But it's a complex story that is fantastic. And I mean, obviously, here's Michelle Monaghan. She's blowing up right now with White Lotus, and she looks exactly the same now as she did all the way back in 2005. So but this is a great movie. You've probably heard of it, but if you haven't seen it, I recommend checking it out. Or if you haven't seen it in a long time, definitely watch it as well, because this is top tier too. It's a great one. Now, the last film that I'm going to talk about is one that was on the indie circuits. It was behind the scenes. A lot of people didn't know about it, but this movie's called Felon, and this was a lower budget movie. This is one where they snagged him as kind of a secondary role. It stars Stephen Dorff, and Val Kilmer is the lead here, and he plays a guy named John Smith, who is a felon, and he's actually basically in prison with Stephen Dorff's character. And the story of this movie will rip your heart out. It is a tough one. It is about a man who gets convicted for killing an intruder to his home to save his family, basically, and he gets put in jail. And this is about his time in jail and basically him trying to survive. It is a wild film. Back in 2008, it was one of those, like I said, these low budget indies that just blew up and did really well on home release. And I definitely recommend checking this out. This movie's great. And once again, like when looking at all of these roles, they're all quite different. And Val just does such an excellent job as these characters that really stand out. And I mean, all of the ones that he's known for, these big characters, like his role in Tombstone, is just these very memorable characters. And I'll be completely honest, I liked his Batman as well, even though people give him crap for it. I think it's really good. But the guy's been around for so long and was in so many fantastic films. The list goes on and on. And regardless of how the movie itself was, he always put his heart and soul into it and did an excellent job. But I definitely recommend seeing all of these movies: The Doors, The Salton Sea, Wonderland, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and Felon. If you have not watched these movies, do it. Just do it. These are ones that all of them, I would say, like, if they're not free streaming somewhere, just take the risk and watch them anyways. They are all so very good, and his performances are great. Let me know down in the comments below, and always make sure to hit that subscribe button. It helps our channel out a whole bunch, and show us some love with all the comments and stuff. But everybody, take it easy, and I'll be back before you know it. Later.